Easter and chocolate. Turns out that Easter is the one season that the most chocolate is sold from the whole year. More than is sold in Christmas and more than is sold on Valentine's Day. So where did this come from? It turns out that originally the habit of the custom of chocolate eggs started as a pagan symbol of fertility and spring, and developed over time into the representation of Christ's resurrection. Because on the northern hemisphere, Easter actually happens in spring, so that's how it all started. And now that habit has just stayed, and to this day it holds this meaning for a variety of people in different parts of the world. So, chocolate. Let's just talk where does it come from? So cacao or cocoa or cacao butter, they all come from a plant, from the cacao bean. So it's originally from South America. It's quite a small plant, and the pods are about this size, of pods that grow very, very close to the trunk. So when processing them, they get picked and then they get processed to separate the solids from the oils, Now, with the distant difference that you may have heard that there's a difference between cocoa and cacao. So cocoa is spelled C-O-C-O-A. They take the pods, they take the seeds out of the pods, and they heat them. In the cocoa, they get heated in quite a high temperature. So they get heated in high temperature, the fats get separated from the solids, and what's left as the solids gets processed, and then we have the cocoa powder. The cacao powder, on the other hand, C-A-C-A-O, is actually processed in very low temperatures. So the process is still the same, but they're processed in very, very low temperature. And because the temperatures are low, it's still considered raw. Now the beauty is when it's raw, it still retains a lot of its nutrients. Raw cacao powder is known to be very high in minerals like iron, magnesium, calcium, zinc, potassium, and lots of very rich in antioxidants. Although this shouldn't be the only reason, we can get those minerals from other sources like beans and so on. But it's a good idea to know that we get some good sources of nutrients from our beloved food, our beloved treat. So if we look at the difference between cocoa and cacao, raw cacao wins definitely because it's much healthier for you and it has much better nutrient value. So what happens from the cacao? So they're both powders, right? So let me show you what it looks like. So the raw cacao powder, it will come in one of these packets. This is what it looks like. And the solids are sold separately often as they're sold separately as your cacao butter. And neither of them are sweet. This is just fatty because it's cacao butter, and this is powder. But neither of them are sweet. So, in order to make our chocolate, the process of making chocolate is normally mixing some cacao butter, some cacao powder or cocoa powder, some sweetener, sugar or some sweetener, and in some cases milk and other flavors. So the thing is it healthy for us? The thing to consider first is how much sugar you actually have in your chocolate. Generally speaking, the higher percentage of cacao, so it's been very popular, we go 70%, 80%, 90%. The higher the percentage, the less sugar it's going to be because it's not as sweet. So let me give you an idea. chocolate, 90% Lindt chocolate has only 7 grams of sugar for 100 grams. Compare it to milk chocolate that has 52 grams of sugar for 100 grams. So basically half of it is just sugar. So the higher the percentage, the better it is for you. Keep in mind that the American Heart Association recommends that we only have 24 grams of sugar over the whole day. So you eat half a packet of chocolate, your milk chocolate, and you've kind of eaten your whole budget of sugar, healthy budget of sugar a day. So what to do? What to do? You like your chocolate. Are there healthier options? Yes, they are. There are healthier options. So obviously, if you select a chocolate that has less sugar, you're already winning. But there are also brands that will put healthier sweeteners in them. So, for example, there is a brand called Little Zebra Food Company. They sweeten their chocolate with xylitol, which is quite a healthy sweetener. So that's one option. There's other companies. So just look, when you buy the chocolate, just look on the label to see how much sugar and what sort of sweetener, because some of them may have healthier forms of sweetener. The other option is to actually make your own. And it's not as hard as you may think. It's a matter of getting the cacao butter, getting the cacao powder, mixing them. Normally it's done over a double boiler, and adding a healthy sweetener. Like healthy sweeteners that you have control over are things you can sweeten things with, like rice malt, which is a healthy sweetener. You can sweeten with stevia. And xylitol, you can buy your own xylitol and sweeten it. So you have a bunch of healthy sweeteners. When you make your own, you have a bunch of healthy sweeteners to use. And if you're keen, send me a private message me, and I'll be happy to email you one of the recent recipes. The reason I have all this information, just recently I did cooking class for our the graduates of our wellness reset course program. And the whole idea was to have healthier options for chocolate. So we prepared together some healthier options of chocolate. So I'm more than happy to send you one of those recipes. Another thing to consider when it comes to chocolate, is maybe it's important for you to know that there is caffeine in chocolate. So what does that mean? And is there a lot of caffeine, and is it an issue? So when you're looking, so the higher the chocolate grade, so when you're looking at 70 or 90% chocolate with 70 or 90%, like your Lindt 90%, because it has more cacao and less sugar, it actually has more caffeine. Let me give you an idea. 100 grams of your Lindt chocolate has 70 milligrams of caffeine in the whole packet. Fairly enough, you don't eat the whole packet at once. How does that compare to other things? Milk chocolate has much less because it has more sugar, then it will have less caffeine. If you already drink coffee, it's not a big deal. You probably wouldn't be concerned about the caffeine in the chocolate, because a home brew will have 95 milligrams of caffeine. And if you go to Starbucks, you're looking at a minimum of 180 milligrams per cup, for a serve. So if you're already used to drinking coffee, you probably wouldn't worry about the level of caffeine that is in chocolate. However, if you don't drink a lot of coffee and you're trying to minimize your caffeine intake, you may want to keep an eye on the level of caffeine that is in the chocolate. A healthier option would be to make your own coffee, your own chocolate drink, your own hot brew. The way I normally do it, I would take the raw cacao powder, put a teaspoon in a cup, and then pour the milk first. So normally I'll use almond milk, or I'll use soy milk, or any milk of your choice. And I pour it first, the cold milk, on top of the cacao, because you don't want to ruin the nutrients, the good nutrients that are in the cacao. If you're going to have it, you might as well get the benefit. And after that, I pour the hot water. So that way you can also control again the sweetener that you put into it. Because if you were to have a hot chocolate, say at Starbucks, you're looking at more than 20 grams of sugar for that hot chocolate. So if you're at home, if you do your own cacao brew, you're looking at about 5 to 10 milligrams of caffeine, which is less than even your green tea. And if you put your healthy sweeteners like rice malt or your stevia, and some stevias come flavored. There's healthy flavors of stevia like vanilla or chocolate. So it's all about reading the ingredients. And one more thing, there is also a vegan form of chocolate that you may have seen in shops. Normally it's called milk, M-I-L. It's called like that, M-Y-L-K actually. And that stands for the fact that there's actually no dairy. It's dairy free. And normally it has coconut cream or coconut milk instead of the milk, and that makes it vegan. So I hope you got something out of this segment about chocolate and cacao and why we're eating so much chocolate over Easter, and whether Easter is just an excuse for us to have all this chocolate. And if anyway you couldn't help it and this chocolate is starting to show on your waistline and you need a reset, come and join us for one of our upcoming wellness resets. We'll help you out to stop the cravings and just, stop that habit before, our waistline gets too big for our own liking. I'll post the link to the next program we have available, and have happy Easter.